You are listening to WTUZ Radio Podcast. Welcome to WTUZ Radio Podcast. I am your host, Rhonda, and today on January 11th, 2021, we are introducing a new series to WTUZ Radio, but not new if you are a listener on our blog talk radio back in the day and YouTube, where we did a series called Allusions. And the purpose of Allusions was we reviewed movies and the content from a spiritual aspect, historical / political, and bringing to light what was the hidden message in that particular movie. My original co-host to that series was a gentleman named Kelly Kelz. He has since transitioned. He is much loved, missed, but I know he is on his journey and he was prepared. So this reviving of this series is dedicated to you, Brother Kel. All right, family. So we are going to review on Allusions, where it is art imitating life. We're going to review the Netflix series called Bridgerton. Yes, that particular series was released on December 25th of 2020, and it is a production of Shonda Rhimes. She is a melanated woman that has had much success in the TV world, and she recently, over the last couple years, cut a lucrative deal with Netflix. So this is her first series, to my knowledge, on Netflix called Bridgerton, which it has been very successful thus far. I got wind of it and took a look at the first episode and absolutely loved it. So this particular series, it is her mixing historical, not even so much events, but historical characters with a little bit of soap opera-ishness to it. Okay, so you have a bunch of scandal, etc., etc. But overall, as Shonda Rhimes is known for, it is extremely entertaining. Everybody that I know, I'm only speaking on the women, I can't really speak on the men, that has watched this particular series, we finished it within a couple days. I enjoyed it so much from an entertainment perspective that I even saved a couple of episodes to bring in the new year. So the reason that I chose to review this series is because of the characters that Shonda Rhimes chose. It is set in England, and it is under the reign of King George and Queen Charlotte. Okay, and what caught my eye in the series and a couple of other people's eyes is that she did depict Queen Charlotte as melanated, which Queen Charlotte is she is the only melanated royal that has been admitted by the crown to date. Now, if you are a part of the Truth UnCONPromeyezed family and you have followed us in our series where we did extensive research on how the seat of throne throughout Europe and around the world, the original seats of throne was held by melanated people. and Europe was not an exception. So, meaning that it's Africa, Asia, Europe, and Americas. So, specifically with Europe at the time, the only that they're admitted now as a melanated, aka black royal, is Queen Charlotte, but also her husband, King George, was also melanated. Okay, but in this particular series, Shonda Rhimes, she went with what was the official quote quote narrative, which is the omission of Queen Charlotte being melanated. So also in this series, they have one of the star characters. His name is Simon, and he is called the Duke of Hastings. And let me tell y'all something now. This gentleman just put it aside. This is a woman thing. Okay? Because Chandra, girl, all of us were swooning over this brother Simon. This melanated Duke of Hastings. Just swag, very handsome young man. So he is depicted as a melanated man. His father was also melanated, as well as his mother. So I was, of course, very happy that Shonda Rhimes got a chance to put this story on and to depict melanated characters in the story. And specifically, she was able to depict Queen Charlotte as being melanated. But even throughout the story, the Duke of Hastings, he is not the only melanated person depicted in this series. What was shown in this series, which is probably more accurate, was there were many melanated folks that held seats of power, different titles of nobility, and there was a lot of mixing of the races. So meaning Caucasian and melanated people marrying. Because unlike today, especially in the Americas, where everything is determined on race, in Europe, it was determined on your status, meaning your breeding, what family you came from. Okay, so in this particular series, Bridgerton, they depicted it was all about women marrying the right family, marrying into the right family for the sole purpose of security. And that also followed suit for the men too, because she also depicted in the series where men were marrying women based on their particular bloodline and standing as well. Okay, so as we always say, you always follow that money, right? So they did an excellent job there, and it kind of lines up also when we see the change of power structure from the melanated, what we call black nobility, the original melanated black nobility, to Caucasian rule. Because there was so much intermarrying, so you had what you call mulattoes and all of that jazz, the bloodline started getting whiter and whiter. Okay, and I'm sure in some cases they just, took a relative that was mostly Caucasian or all Caucasian to start sitting on those seats of thrones, because I think it only takes two generations to kind of lighten up the bloodline. Okay, so that's one take on how the particular royal bloodline of Europe went from melanated to Caucasian. In addition to that, you also had a lot of wars going on where you had the King James line, the Stuarts were pretty much ousted. And you had a lot of interfighting among those melanated kingdoms over different territories. All right. So I'm also reviewing this for another reason, because I'm sitting minding my business as I normally do. And I was looking at a documentary on New York City's Central Transit. And it was actually going over the architecture of the New York City's Grand Central Station, the proper name for it. And so, which is fascinating within itself. You can do an entire show within itself on that, because even even from the structure of the building itself being French inspired, onto all the different symbols, a lot of esoteric symbols, astrology symbols, etc. So that within itself, you can do an entire show. But I noticed one of the plaques on the wall, just a real quick take of it, was dedicated to a Hasting. I said, wait, what? You mean the Duke of Hasting? So I said, okay, let me kind of do a little research on this Hasting name. Okay, so before I do that, let me back up a bit and just give you a high level of Bridgerton. If you want to check it out, which I do recommend you check it out, you'll be entertained. Now, it is soap opera-ish, so for the men, don't come for a sister, because I am telling you up front, it is soap opera-ish. But women, you're going to absolutely love it. And everybody that I've spoken to, we're all sitting back just waiting for season 2. And ideally enough, it's interesting because a couple of the characters, the melanated characters played in Bridgerton, literally look like people I know. Queen Charlotte looks exactly like sis I know. Shout out to sis Melba. She knows what I'm talking about. She's been getting teased of it. We've been calling her Queen Charlotte, saying, yeah, I could have got the hookup. And then another one of the characters, who is the Duke of Hastings, I'm going to say his big mama. She really wasn't his big mama, but she served in that role to raise him, look exactly like a good friend of mine. We go way back to our college days. I mean, they look spitting image, except that lady has, the character in Bridgerton has light eyes. So I just kind of dropped my mouth because both of those actresses are from London. I'm not sure specifically London, but they are European. They're melanated, but they're European. Okay. But it doesn't surprise me, because as we start doing, melanated people start doing their genealogy, we are now finding our genealogy links back to Europe. Part of our genealogy links back to Europe. Okay. So it's like we have both feet on both continents. On the indigenous Indian side, yeah, indigenous Indian, the original indigenous Indian were black, melanated, swarthy, tawny. Okay. And then also we have the other foot on the Europe continent. Okay. And we're tracing back where our European lineage is coming on the father's side. So meaning the male lineage came over to the Americas and married into the indigenous Indian culture. Okay, so that is the reason why melanated folk in America we carry those last surnames of European descent. So it's not that we're carrying these names because through slavery. That's not what we're finding in the records. As a matter of fact, we're not finding where our ancestors were even owned or bound by slavery. What we're finding are those names, those surnames, those European surnames are coming through via a relative that is from Europe. Okay. So the whole story, the whole notion of melanated people not carrying, the melanated people of the Americas not carrying the last name of their lineage and they're carrying enslaved names is false. Unless you find in the records that your ancestors are African and your ancestors dropped their African name and took on a slave master's surname. And even if that is the case, you can still look at those records and you can tell the race of who that particular slave master was. It listed. And guess what? Yes, melanated, aka black folk, also owned slaves. Those melanated, aka black folks of Europe owned slaves, as well as Indian tribes. Okay? All right, so let's get back to Bridgerton. All right, so I just took a snippet off of Wikipedia to give you all their official version of what the show is about. This is again a Netflix series. Bridgerton is an American streaming television period drama series created by Chris Van Dusen and produced by Shonda Rhimes. It is based on Julia Quinn's novel set in the competitive world of Regency London during the season when debutantes are presented at court. It premieres on Netflix on December 25th, 2020. The drama centers on the Bridgerton family, Violet, Dowager Lady Bridgerton, her 4 sons, Anthony, Benedict, Colin, and Gregory, and her 4 daughters, Daphne, Eloise, Francisca, and Hyacinth. Also featured are the Featheringtons, Portia, Lady Featherington, her husband, the Baron, and their 3 daughters, Philippia, Prudence, and Penelope. All right, so again, check it out. It's really a good series, and like I said, I can't wait till season 2. Shout out to Shonda Rhimes. Yeah. I appreciate it. I think you did a great job on it. All right, let's get back to this Hastings, y'all. So, the Duke of Hastings is a character. He was courting one of the Bridgerton daughters. Okay, now the Duke of Hastings, remember, and that's when I talk about these things. These dukes, these earls, lords, nobles, those are titles. Okay, so the Duke of Hastings was his title, but his name was Simon. Okay, that's the dude that has the title Duke of Hastings. All right, so that name Hastings, and that's the melanated man with the swag in the Bridgerton series. Okay, so I'm minding my business, as I said, and in Grand Central Station in New York, I was watching a documentary and I saw zoom past a plaque with dedicated to a Hastings. I said, oh boy, now I'm gonna have to go and look and see what up with them Hastings, because I thought that it was just a fictional name. You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking, oh, okay, it's a fictional name. in this particular series, although I do know, of course, Queen Charlotte and, King George, they actually are documented people. I just figured everybody else would be fictional characters. But the Hastings name is not fictional. Okay, so I started with the House of Names, and I was surprised how far back the name goes, and we're going to get a little deeper. So the Hastings family clan, the land of colorful tartans and skirling bagpipes as their ancient homeland. In Scotland, hereditary surnames, was adopted to, okay, to fairly general rules during the late Middle Ages. Names that were derived from localities became increasingly widespread. Okay, so I shouldn't, that, because I go here a lot is to me, but so you all know. So in other words, a lot of these surnames that people carry to this day, they are based on territories. Okay, so folk took on that surname based on the territory that their family was associated with. Okay, so that's basically what they're saying. So they said local names originally denoted a proprietorship of the village or estate. The Norman knight Robert of Hastings distinguished himself at the Battle of Hastings and was granted the town of Hastings by William the Conqueror as reward. Okay. The surname Hastings was first found in Sussex, where the family were descendants from Robert of de Hastings, who, having assisted William the Conqueror at the Battle of Hastings, was given the town of Hastings in gratitude. He became the mayor of Hastings. Okay, so I can't remember up in the Netflix series. Let's see if Simon's father's name was Robert. Child, I can't remember, so y'all gonna have to forgive me. I was hoping that they would have said that was his father's name. I can't remember his father's name, Simon, the Duke of Hastings, because they do show his father, who was something else, y'all. His father was off the hook. Can't remember if they called him Robert. I don't even think they even called his name because they called his title. All right. So once again, even as I read through this, when we did our series of the Black nobility, the forgotten Black nobility on Truth UnCompromised, you can catch that particular series on YouTube. We show pictures, lost pictures or hidden pictures of William the Conqueror, who was also melanated. All right. So now I don't know for sure if Hastings was melanated. I'm kind of assuming that he was melanated. This is Robert Hastings, who became mayor of Hastings. Okay, so it says another branch that some claim to be older was found at Philongley in Warwickshire. This place, the name of which is variously written in Domesday Book, is supposed to have been the earliest seat of the rich and powerful family of Hastings, who held many offices of distinguish during several reigns. So in other words, because y'all, William the Conqueror go back pretty far, y'all. So them Hastings, they've been rocking pretty far back with being the king's them boys. Or the king's them boys. Okay. So one of the records of the names was Henry D. Hastings, 1235C, who was created Baron in 1264 by Simon de Montfort. Okay, so I found that interesting because in the show Bridgerton, the Duke of Hastings, that character, the Duke of Hastings' name was Simon. So I found that interesting that the first recorded name of Hasting, meaning Henry D. Hastings, he was a baron, and he was given that title by Simon de Montfort. He led the Londoners at the Battle of Lewes. His son, John Hasting, first Baron Hasting, 1262, fought in 1290s wars in the Scotland, Ireland, and France under King Edward I. His son, John Hasting, second Baron Hasting, 1287, served in the First War of Scottish Independence under King Edward II and later became governor of Kenilworth Castle. Okay, so I'm wondering if John was depicted as Simon's father. All right, but anyway, let me go ahead on. Sir William Hastings created Baron Hastings by Edward, the fourth, who was beheaded by Richard III. See, y'all, all this dramatization in Europe, always some drama and overthrowing of kings and taking over territory. But anyway, and who was beheaded by Richard III, built a strong castle in Ashby de Larzac in Leicestershire. I'm probably butchering these names, so forgive me, my European folk. I apologize up in advance. In the reign of the former monarch, in which Mary, Queen of Scots, while in custody of the Earl of Huntingdon, was for some time kept in confinement. Ashby Castle was garrisoned for His Majesty by the Earl's second son, Colonel Henry Hastings, who was made general of the king's forces in the Midland countries and for his services to the royal cause. Was in 1643 created Baring, Lawborough. Okay, so again in England, another early record was found at Ashton Canlough in Warwickshire. John D. Hastings, into whose possession it had come, claimed by prescription in the 13th of Edward I a court leet, which assees a bread of beer, waifs, gallows, and free women, all which were allowed. All right, so let me see. We kind of went over all of that. They just kind of go over the various Hastings, and all of them held noble titles. So we move to the Hastings settlers in the United States. You had Thomas Hastings, 1605, English immigrant from Ipswich, Suffolk, who sailed aboard the Elizabeth to Watertown, Massachusetts in 1634. Edward Hastings, who came in the Isle of Providence in 1635. You had Edward Hastings, who arrived in Barbados in 1635. William Hastings, who landed in Virginia in 1636. Walter Hastings, who arrived in Cambridge, Massachusetts in 1659. Okay, so basically the Hastings came over to the Americas starting in 1605. Okay, give me some water. To listen to this episode in its entirety, go to anchor.fm/WTUZ radio. Again, that's anchor.fm/WTUZ radio. And the link is in the description. Thank you, and peace and love.